And hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of One Take because life has no rehearsals. Today, I am very happy to invite an old friend of mine, not because he's old, I'm older, but an ancient friend of mine. Martin has got a very varied career. He worked at American Express, which is, everybody knows, the most prestigious brand ever in credit cards. He worked in the credit card department, then partnerships, alliances. He's a published author specialized in alliances and making teams work together. He's a coach, and if he has a bit of time at the end, he's going to tell us how he's transitioning to building an interior design, which is amazing. So, Martin, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, it's good to see you, Marcelo. It's been a while since I left good old Miami, but good to see you and talk with you about stuff.
Yeah, so you're in Atlanta, even though it's not very hot today. So,
It's really
you
beautiful.
know, when we were talking, right? So, everybody that we ask, me included, honest, me included, when somebody says, tell me about a decisive moment, 99.9% will say something that happened, me included. You are the 0.1% who looks at life in a completely different way. Tell us how you see decisive moments.
Well, we were talking about it, and you were asking me about decisive moments, in terms of moments of something that was positive and something that you did. But I also thought it was important to notice the moments in which you didn't do, or maybe you didn't take an opportunity, and maybe you missed it, or you just decided to do something else, and those can also be decisive. Life has a certain level of unfolding, and sometimes we think it's going to go in one direction, and a friend of ours comes and say, hey, let's do this business, and you decide yes or no. And I've had several moments where friends were like, oh, I want you to get involved, and I didn't, and they were very successful in their ventures. And those were moments in which maybe I could have been part of that, but I took other decisions in life.
So you could be driving an Aston Martin DBS or a Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
Well,
having a little Moto Guzzi is enough.
you're a Moto Guzzi, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, but at least give us an inkling of one of those decisive not moments.
The decisive not moments. I have a friend who was my neighbor, and he started a restaurant business, and he wanted me to work with him. And I think he started in Miami. It's called 100 Eggs, and he has
Oh, yeah.
several really good restaurants. He has the Yardbird,
Yes.
and I mean, that would not have been a business I would really venture into, but it was one of those moments where I could have just been like, shit, let's just do it, because sometimes in life you just have to jump.
100X is very famous, very successful. They have a very wide range of restaurants.
Yeah,
Even I
yeah,
know them, and I don't really know that much.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I mean, there are other positive ones. When I was in Miami, and had been living and grew up in Miami for 40 years, and I woke up one morning and I said, I've got to get out of here. I've got to find another place. I got to, expand. And I just dropped everything, looked for work, and moved to San Francisco as an associate client partner at Corn Ferry, and that was like just a choice. And it wasn't like I had the job. It was just I made the choice, and then I even started like getting myself ready for moving, even though I hadn't really decided. Haven't actually gone to apply and work with Corn Ferry and do all of that. I was waiting to see if I would get the job to make the move, but at least psychologically, once you make the choice, then you go after it. So
I, yeah, and I remember well. I mean, you left a beautiful apartment with a fantastic view, and I can't remember the name of the causeway.
oh gosh, that's on yeah, it's so beautiful.
Anyway, that causeway,
The Venetian Islands.
the Venetian Island. Yes.
That's a place for that's a place for retiring, and I don't see myself retiring till I don't know when. When I think of people saying they're retiring, I'm like, retiring? I'm 55. I don't even think of retirement.
I'm 70 and I'm still not thinking about retiring.
Exactly.
But it
Exactly.
had a beautiful view. I remember the view from the apartment. It was just beautiful. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you also mentioned something that is very intriguing, which is cultivating that mentality for change. You
Mm,
also mentioned the golden thread. And
mm,
yes, you've seen a huge amount of change, but as you rightfully pointed out, it isn't as if you had to react to change. You were very much in the forefront of your own change. But right now, you seem to be hitting a really good stride. 300, 400 people you have coached, you've authored a book, you're thinking about working with, builders to, benefit the Hispanic market. Tell me more about the golden thread, and tell me more about how do you cultivate that mentality for change, that resilience.
sure. The golden thread was something that I actually named it the golden thread more recently in my coaching, but I sat in my 30s after I had left, I think I had left MasterCard and I had left American Express, and I was getting into the sort of area of leadership development, and I was trying to figure out what is my life really about? What do I really love to do? What are the instances in when I felt most alive? And I was wondering, what is this thing that sort of binds your life together? And it wasn't like, oh, I was born to work in credit cards. That would that's kind of crazy. Like, how, you wouldn't be born, you're not born to work in an industry that would be, but, I was born to be collaborative, to be enjoy working with others, to push a ball forward, to be in the front of business, to negotiate, and all of those things that make me the person I am. And that helped me to sort of, in a way, project that forward into my life, irrespective of the industry, irrespective of the role. And I coach a lot of people on trying to find that golden thread. What do they really love, and who are they as unique individuals? There was this one guy I was coaching who's like, well, Martine, I'm 35 and I wanted to play soccer. And there's no way I can play professional soccer at 35. And the real inquiry is like, we're not talking about soccer. We're talking about, what is it you love about soccer? What is it that you enjoy? Oh, I enjoy working with others. I enjoy playing the game. I enjoy winning. I enjoy passing the ball. I enjoy the collaborative nature of soccer, working with different types of people. And that helped him to sort of figure out where he wanted to go next. So, in terms of resilience, it's cultivating the capacity to realize that there's more out there to life than life is change. My mom always told me, there's one thing that's constant about life is change. And I think she's right.
Yep.
So it's like cultivating that capacity to go with change and to adapt.
Now, one of the things, maybe a bit of a detour, right? But
Uh-huh.
I tell people there's several ways in which you kind of self sabotage. Um, yeah. So one of the key ways in which you absolutely sabotage yourself is when you say yes, but, or when you say everything points out this way, but I'm not going to pay attention to what I even like or think or have concluded. So the issue of change is central to both. I mean, there's a huge resistance to change. People can always find 52 reasons why a change will be bad and destroy the known universe and cause the entire civilization to collapse. Or you can find one or two reasons why that change will be great or good at least, and how you can work with the change to improve it. But there seems to be a tendency, and this is something I found in corporate a lot. Um, at some point, I managed, like, I don't know, 50 teams or something like that, spread all over the world. And you could easily see people who didn't want to change, were very resistant to change. For example, I remember firing one guy, Berrios, as media director of Chile because he said the internet will never, ever, ever happen in Chile, which is one
He
of
was
the.
right. He was 100% right on that one.
So how do you how so internally, right? There's got to be one or two key ways in which you would share with people. How do you cultivate that like of change?
You have to recognize your own resistance and look at the fear, because the change is fundamentally a fear that's underlying, that's operating underneath the thinking, underneath the cognition, because the cognition will come up with a whole bunch of reasons why you shouldn't or should do something. but the cognition doesn't relate to the more emotional element of what am I really fearful of. Because the change isn't only external, the change is internal too. You have to be
Yep.
able to allow yourself to change, to grow. And growth in and of itself is change. And most of the time, when, like in my coaching work, what I tell people is when you're not comfortable is when the work is happening. That's where the work is. The work is on the edge of your set of your comfort. If not, you're not going to get anything from coaching because you have to push yourself through, you know?
The other the other resistance that I found in change, right? Which I don't know. I don't want you to get free advice I usually charge for, but
What do you mean? I haven't charged for all my great comments.
I know, and I don't have any money to pay. I'm waiting for sponsors and stuff. However, one of the things that I have also found very interesting as a resistance to change, not in a lot of people, but in significant enough amount of people that I started to think about it was ¿qué dirán? What would others say? If I change into this or I change into that, there seems to be like some kind of I don't know, self-consciousness of, I have this entire
Yeah,
sphere of friends or people who know me. What
there's
if I
this idea,
change?
right? There's this idea that people say, I don't want to turn into someone else. I don't want to be someone I'm not, right? But no one is saying you have to turn into, I don't know, Barack Obama or, some other politician, because that's never going to happen. But you have to, change does imply a certain level of growth and
Yep.
unfoldment and expansion of who you are as a person. But I think you have to think of it as growth, not change, as a capacity to grow and improve and be better, be more agile, more open.
Still, as you grow, you tend to shed
You have to shed.
people at
So
some point.
I remember when I started changing, when I was doing a lot of personal work, and I grew up Latin American, and Latin American men have certain relationships with their mothers that are very close. And I moved from Miami to South Beach, which is like 30 minutes, And my mom is all upset that I left Coral Gables and I'm moving 30 minutes away, you know.
Not like an hour, but
I mean, it's like, come on, it's 45 minutes. And I remember telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, you need to get a life. And I hung up on her, you know? And yeah, like that was indicative of my own changing and telling people to screw off and like building boundaries. But if you see change as, helping you become more healthy and more productive and more whole, what you're going to have to live with the consequences. If you're not willing to live with the consequences, you got to work through the fear and live with the consequences. So courage is important too.
yeah, I
You got to
agree.
be willing to be courageous.
So that's a great prescription, really. I mean, like you need to identify your fears first.
Yeah,
You need at some point you need to power through them. I know you haven't said to power through them.
right. Because I'm a little
It's more
tougher.
my kind of word than let's say your kind of word. But you still need to
Still have
work
to
your
like,
way through them.
and even if the powering is like small steps, what you can't do is give up.
Exactly. And then finally, at some point, and it is true, you got to realize change is not only change, it is growing for most people, and you will grow out of many, not many, maybe a few bad relationships or a few outdated relationships that will hold you back. So, all in all, I mean, like, even though here we have a good example of resilience, even though the podcast is 99% of the time about resilience, this is a great prescription for people who are listening to say, it's not a question of me reacting to change all of the time. This is the way I can be in front of the change and grow with it and really take advantage of it. Like you've done, honestly. I mean,
Yeah,
you have certainly done that.
and you can become a catalyst for your own change, just creating your life.
Yes, I agree. So, a final one, which of course I am very fond of, being the age that I am. By the way, I have one of the phrases that I love is Irving, who's a lifelong friend of mine, part of our board, and a great guy. I mean, literally great guy. He says, we are POA, people of age. And his son immediately said, Dad, that is cultural. Like, what?
Colonial,
kidnapping. Yeah,
kidnapping, appropriation, like they say.
appropriation, because
Yeah.
we got the POC, right? People of color.
Oh,
But I like POAs, and I'm actually gonna get a logo for it, and I'm gonna create a little campaign that says, "Hey, we're POA, not DOA." So, but POA is certainly a reality, right? You walk into at least I walk into a place, and people will say, "Oh, you don't look 70," but they always say, "You look 60." Well, I still look whatever.
it's like when you're getting older when people call you sir, and you're like,
Oh my god, I hate
wait a
that.
minute, wait a minute, are you talking to me?
I know. I hate that. We work every so often. You open the door for somebody, and they'll look at you and thank you, sir. The worst one was, honestly, this is horrible. I was walking, and some guy goes over. He says, "Wow, that's so cool. Your shoes match your belt exactly in color. My dad used to do that."
Oh God, you
I
know
didn't
what?
hit him. I didn't hit him because we work is full of cameras.
It's so painful. Yeah,
Like,
nothing is sacred anymore. Not even good taste and like.
I'm telling you. But if you were that fly in the wall or that counselor, since you do coaching, you counsel people too. You're sitting with a CEO, a CMO. They're interviewing people. One of the candidates is a POA. Obviously, there's no way he can look 30 anymore. But we do bring a lot. What do you tell that CEO that we bring to the party?
Well, I think as we were prepping for our call, we were talking. I was telling you what I noticed over the last years as I was coaching, and the sort of unfoldment of people and their capacities as leaders. And I was telling you, okay, well, in your 20s are about getting the work done. It's about learning to work. It's about getting to work on time. Doing the job, following your boss. All of that. And then your 30s are a really interesting transition point because at 35, 36 the soft skills become the hard skills. The hard skills everybody knows. If you're in accounting, you know your accounting, you know your balance sheets, you know how to pay. If you're in treasury, you know any of the roles, you basically know the work. But the work, once you get people reporting to you, your job is to how do I work with people? How do I influence them? How do I work with people I dislike? People that rub me the wrong way? How do I influence the system? How do I cultivate better communication? So that turns into your 40s and 50s. And if you've been able to surpass that sort of speed bump in your late 30s, then you start growing. You have teams of teams, and then in your 45 you're dealing with a lot of the politics and the difficulties of being a vice president or a senior vice president. But when you're in your 50s, you've already sort of done all of that, so you've cultivated hopefully the capacity for better leadership, and you don't get you're not ruffled by someone who's not very articulate in the meeting, because your focus is on trying to get the job done and the work done. So you've surpassed all of that. You've already blossomed through all of that. And I mean, I know it when I turned 50, it was like, look, I only have so much time, so I'm not fucking around anymore. I've already done all of that. I know what I want for my life. And so that also helps a company. You're not working with someone who's just off the, oh, what am I going to do in my career? No, you're really there to make it happen.
I really like that mental image, the blossoming. You have blossomed into something, extraordinary. And, it's great. So, Martin, thank you very much. Um, I'm glad your air conditioning, well, heater is working. What can I tell you?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we have winter weather here. It's like
Here it snowed.
75 degrees.
Here it snowed a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
Atlanta's not hot anymore.
I'm flying to Burgos tomorrow. So, and Burgos is 3 below. So, yeah,
Cold.
yeah, that's cold, but it's fine. I have a very nice set of warm clothing in Burgos. I keep it there because like you certainly need it.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad everything is working, and I'm very glad to see that you're very successful as a coach. So congratulations, and then hopefully you'll come to Miami one of these days.
Of course. I come often to visit and enjoy.
Okay, you got it.
All See you later.
Take care, man. See you. Bye bye.